Now it's time for us to check in on what is happening on your social media algorithm. This week, people living in LA have been sharing devastating first-hand accounts of their losses in the deadly wildfires sweeping along the Californian coast this week.
But before we get to that, a federal election hasn't yet been called, but we know it is coming because more and more opposition politicians have been joining social media. They are onto it. Our digital reporter, Leah Walsh, is here to have a chat to us in just a moment, but first...
I know my first TikTok is supposed to be something fun, and I probably should say something that is or isn't demure.
Last day of Parliament today. Let me show you what my morning was like. Up at 5:30, put the faithful Port Fairy hoodie on.
Yay! So I thought that I would celebrate by having the neighbours over this afternoon and creating for them an end of 2024 cocktail.
All right, I'm all for talking to the kids, Lorna. My kids would say, you know what they would say? They would say cringe.
Yeah, and that's the trouble when politicians try and engage like that. Well, let's bring in our digital reporter, Leah Walsh, to discuss that and other things. Hi, Leah, do you cringe when you see it?
Oh, well, it is a very fine line, isn't it? It's hard because you've got to be natural, but then it is a very thin line between cringe and just being nice and relaxed. It's looking like we are going down a similar path to the US with our politicians now posting lots and lots on TikTok. It's really interesting with Peter Dutton specifically joining TikTok in September, because if you remember back in March, he was voicing his opinion on maybe banning a TikTok at kind of a US-style ban in Australia. So we kind of did a 360 when he noticed how many young Australians were on there, and then Anthony Albanese was soon to follow. I think what we are going to see in the lead up to the federal election is a big uptake of social media, of TikTok, of this either cringe or natural kind of style things happening on TikTok. Peter Dutton's approach is extremely targeted so far. 8 out of his 9 TikToks are about first home buyers, and a recent one he did just over Christmas actually got 1.1 million views. So in terms of the TikTok race, Dutton seems to be winning with 23,000 followers, with Anthony Albanese still at 4,000 followers. So it's very early race so far.
But both of them know, don't they, Leah, that it's accidental things that take over and get the most views. So, I mean, do you think they'll ever go down a route where they do show on the Prime Minister's TikTok feed him tripping up or doing something silly? I mean, that's what would garner all the likes and all of the interaction.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's about authenticity. And I think both teams on either side have seen what happened in the US, how much both sides in their federal election were using TikTok. At the crunch time of their federal election, they were posting something like 19 videos a day. And it was, as you say, a mix between casual stuff, which you kind of can't plan for, or more kind of high-level produced things. So far, both Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton have kind of stayed away from the, authentic side of things, although Peter Dutton did post a few photos of his dogs on TikTok, so that's a start.
Rough. Leah, let's move on to a slightly more serious topic here, and that's the Los Angeles fires. And we see this happen, don't we, when major news events come along come the citizen journalists, and we're seeing it sometimes live.
Absolutely, especially for young Australians following along with this situation in LA. They are getting updates not really from news headlines, it's from first-hand accounts of their favourite influencers, their favourite creators, and these aren't just A-list celebrities, they're just people with maybe 10,000 followers that live in LA, and the kind of content we're seeing from the fires ranges from first-time posters who have never posted before, who are coming on and showing their vacant block of land because their house has been burnt down, or it might be a smaller influencer packing their bags with 180,000 residents being evacuated from that area. It's absolutely taking over TikTok. Just so much content, which we've never really seen before social media came along in this way. But of course, and this kind of conversation is adjacent to Meta walking back the fact checkers, there is some misinformation that's happening. There's some old clips that are circulating. There are some some rumors that, say this iconic Barbie house has burnt down, and then another creator goes along and fact checks that. So it is kind of the Wild West online, and we're getting all kinds of updates. There's live streams, there's, posts if you go on there from a minute ago. So it really is a new way to get news, or to not if it's ended up being misinformation.
Yeah, interesting. Leah, what else has caught your eye this week?
Well, I mean, it's funny on TikTok, you never know when you scroll what you're going to come across. It might be a really serious situation, or it might be something lighthearted. There is this trend that's been going around. It's called the nonchalant elevator challenge, where you kind of run up to the elevator and you have to stop it at the last second. As you can see, you really never know what you're going to get. But people have been just putting their foot in to stop it. They've been putting a hand in at the last second. I saw someone put a cocktail between the lift doors to stop it. So it's kind of about that idea that, when you want to run for the lift, but you've got to act like you didn't just sprint there. So if you see anyone being kind of sus and jumping in the lift at the last second, I would say it's about this TikTok trend.